All day today, people have been actively talking about some kind of energy truce, which in reality is nowhere to be seen. Not even if you put on bigger glasses than Janusz's, you still won't see this truce. Just go to the official Telegram channel of the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and see for yourself. There, at regular intervals of 15 minutes, you'll find reports about drones of all kinds, reconnaissance, combat, and so on in various places, in regions across Ukraine. There really is no truce at all. Now, we need to figure out where this rumor is coming from. It originates from a Russian Telegram channel, a Z public channel run by Roman Flight. Roman Flight wrote that supposedly on the 28th, that's yesterday, January, a document appeared somewhere stating that it's forbidden to shell Kyiv and the Kyiv region, and that this truce, this ceasefire, would begin on the 28th January and would continue until further notice, until special instructions. So, who is Romanov? In Russia, he's generally considered a kind of traitor blogger. On his Telegram channel, if you go there and look, you'll see, if you scroll up a bit, that there's criticism of the Kremlin, of the Ministry of Defense, and of Gerasimov. All of that is there. The reaction was immediate, basically, already, on other more popular public channels as well. Yes, about all this, that in reality, Kyiv, you could really finish it off there. On other, more popular public channels, all this, actually, Kyiv could be taken out very quickly with a single strike, and that's why it's a cheap provocation. A cheap provocation, the formation of a narrative about controlling Ukraine's negotiation track, and a good new head of the president's office, Budanov, and so on. Indeed, it is further stated that Kyiv is just one step away from a complete shutdown of heat and energy. Just one good push. Very crudely and carelessly, information is now being spread that in the Russian Federation, they either preserved or banned strikes on Ukrainian energy infrastructure in general. Overall, the track really connects. Here you can see, yes, that the narrative of controlling Ukraine's negotiation track is being formed. There is such an opinion, a policy, a page, already a Ukrainian Telegram channel, Russian language, obviously aimed at a Russian audience, but modern. Strike rumors shape negotiation narratives. February 2nd. Perhaps that's the date tied to the end of this energy truce, if it has indeed been declared. And whether the moratorium on strikes will be extended or not, in that case, will depend solely on the outcome of the negotiations. Today, Peskov, commenting on this for the Russians and responding to questions from Russian correspondents and propagandists, said, "I will not comment on the story about the truce." So obviously there is a taboo on commenting about the truce, but Peskov, friends, let's remember, has repeatedly stated that the Kremlin is set on reaching a final agreement on Ukraine, whether it's trilateral, bilateral, or whatever form it takes, a final agreement. And interim truces and ceasefires, these are absolutely unnecessary for the Kremlin right now and have never been needed. This doesn't fit into the concept or the paradigm of continuing hostilities, no matter what, for the sake of advancing by 70%. Meters per month or per day across the territory of Donbass. You've seen these statistics. The same goes here. So he didn't comment on it, but he also didn't meters per month or per day across the territory of Donbass. You've seen these statistics. The same goes here. So he didn't comment on it, but interestingly, he also didn't refute it. That is, if a narrative is being formed somewhere, it doesn't concern Ukraine's strong position, as those Z publics write, but rather this narrative most likely relates to the peacekeeping image of the Russian Federation, especially over the past 2 days leading up to the key negotiations. A key moment, it seems to me, in this whole story for the State Department as well, because for the first time at such a level, the United States wants to seriously demonstrate to the world, to themselves, to Ukrainians, and to Russians. Days before key negotiations, the State Department aims to show the world that Kyiv and Moscow can reach agreements. Rubio, speaking in the Senate yesterday, noted this negotiation process despite not participating himself. He is not a participant in the negotiating group. It can only be implemented between Ukraine and the Russian Federation. In Abu Dhabi, a bilateral meeting has been scheduled for the 1st of the month. The only specific issue to be addressed there is not one for the negotiating group. It can only be implemented directly between Ukraine and the Russian Federation.
Slippery, or may finally find its resolution, is the issue of territories. This, according to Rubio, is the key point.
Well, and the Kremlin has already responded as well, saying that, in fact, Ushakov said that the issue of territory is the only difficult question, but overall the mood is territory remains difficult. Who is basically Putin's shadow, a very close propagandist. He's constantly in the Kremlin filming everything, making exclusives and posting them. Today he released a short video. Do you know what it's about? About the head of the main intelligence directorate of the Russian Federation, the intelligence officers, Kostyukov. Igor Kostyukov answered Zarubin's question about how the negotiations are going. And I want to tell you, really, as Zarubin writes, this is the first time. This really is the first time. Kostyukov has never commented on such things until now. Take a look. What was the atmosphere of the negotiations like? Well, at least a couple of words. This is the first time Kostyukov has ever commented on such matters. He noted the atmosphere was constructive and everyone understands the situation. This is no coincidence. Kostyukov's smiling confirmation that everything is moving forward constructively proves the meeting took place. Whether it's bilateral between Ukraine and the Russian Federation, negotiating groups in Abu Dhabi on the 1st of the month, rumors about some kind of truce that Peskov refuses to comment on, and in addition, another rather notable moment that also happened today, just 2 days before these negotiations, friends, is the exchange, essentially, of the bodies of the dead, the bodies of the fallen. The dead between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. Ukraine returned 1,000 bodies of the fallen. And in fact, this is also a gesture I don't even know. There are just comments suggesting that this particular episode was being prepared. You might come across them. I personally haven't yet seen a comment saying that this was being prepared for a long time and was supposed to happen today, regardless of whether something would take place in Abu Dhabi or not. But even if it was being prepared to drop this story now, look, everything is happening for us. And today, the president, even if it was being prepared to drop this story now, look, everything is happening for us. And today, the president of the United Arab Emirates is also meeting with Putin today in the Kremlin. So the informational background for us is just fantastic, extremely favorable. Russia is doing everything to demonstrate that it truly wants peace. This is how it is in this is imaginary, of course. All of this is, of course, imaginary. But all of this is being done to please the leader of the United Arab Emirates, the leader of the United States, and essentially to point out already on the 1st that we are indeed working for peace. All Ukrainians refuse to recognize, as they say, the realities on the ground. On this note, to wrap up, there is already a rather interesting piece coming out. The Washington Post is currently evaluating and considering 3 distinct potential scenarios for what might lie ahead for this ongoing war that was originally unleashed by the Russian Federation in Ukraine. Interestingly, the Washington Post is considering 3 scenarios for what awaits this war unleashed by the Russian Federation in Ukraine. How might these 3 scenarios look according to the Washington Post journalists? The first scenario, which the publication calls the most realistic, is considered the most realistic scenario. The ongoing continuation of this grueling war in, how should I even begin to put it, when absolutely everything is rapidly running out for you. The continuation of the war. The continuation of the war in, how should I put it, when everything is running out for you. Do you get it? When you're already not... Well, the continuation of the war when both sides are forced to drive each other into an absolute dead end. That is, we keep fighting as long as we can, no matter what. We continue mobilization. We throw in another 500,000 people. That's from the Russian side. Federation, just to reach the administrative borders of Donetsk region. And this scenario assumes that Russia will continue at any cost. Federation aiming for Donetsk's administrative borders. This assumes Russia continues seizing Donetsk at any cost, despite any losses. Accordingly, Russia is an absolute aggressor, meaning no agreements are possible. The second scenario, per Washington journalists, Post, this is a scenario that assumes Ukraine might not hold out, and we're talking about a sudden collapse at the front, for example, or real problems with staffing, with funding from the Russian Federation. And in such a scenario, accordingly, Ukraine accepts the terms of the Russian Federation, withdraws its troops, and signs an absolutely capitulatory certain things, but retains its statehood and sovereignty over the territory that remains. The third scenario is connected precisely with the weakening of the Russian Federation. Journalists write that the Russian Federation's economy might simply not withstand it, and this scenario is the least realistic. But if, for example, it does happen, then the Russian Federation might make concessions. And the question is, how much time is allotted for the actual implementation of these scenarios? So how much time can be given for the realization of these scenarios? Or patience? How deep is Donald Trump's patience? How great is it today? I'll tell you that this is connected, let's say, to the United States elections. They are scheduled for November 26th of this year. And as for the upcoming presidential election campaign cycle, well, if you subtract 6 months, that is exactly when it starts, in the month of May. These complex political scenarios and strategic options, they won't just lie there on the table forever, remaining out in the open for everyone to see. So we will see the very first significant and pivotal date. It is a truly interesting and very important day, I think, for the future history of the whole world, in my absolute opinion.